Welcome to a sold-out Auburn Arena. Tonight, Kentucky's on the road to take on the Auburn Tigers, who are suddenly surging, and a standing room-only crowd out to see the defending national champs, the Wildcats of Kentucky. Welcome courtside, everybody. Tom Hart alongside Matt Doherty. Matt's got one simple key for the Kentucky Wildcats tonight.
Well, if the young Wildcats can match the intensity of this Auburn Tiger team, they'll have a chance to win on the road where they've struggled this year.
And try to match the intensity of the crowd as well as we take a look at the starting five for Kentucky. Kentucky team without the 7-footer Willie Cauley-Stein. He's back in Lexington, did not make the trip after a minor surgical procedure on his knee. So it'll be Poitras at the 4 and Julius Mays, the senior, back into the starting lineup for John Calipari's Wildcats at 11-5. Auburn's evened its record to 8-8, and it is a veteran bunch. Wallace, Sullivan in the backcourt, both seniors, Noel Johnson and Rob Chubb. Inside, also seniors, Alan Payne gets the start at 6'6". Will play inside as well for these Auburn Tigers, coming off of a double overtime loss on the road in Fayetteville against the Razorbacks. Kentucky coming off of a home win against Tennessee. Anthony Jordan, Lee Cassell, and C.J. Washington have the whistles tonight. And we're just about ready to get started here on the Plains. Much has been made of Kentucky's youth, and for good reason. And they face a veteran squad tonight, a scrappy squad for head coach Tony Barbee and the Auburn Tigers. Inside to Chubb, had a good game against Kentucky last year. Now Johnson. And Nerlens Noel brings down his first board.
Good possession for the Tigers, inside out. Johnson's a good outside shooter.
Mays didn't hesitate, a quick three.
Josh, you're going to see a lot of pick and roll action on both sides.
Inside to Chubb. Quick turnaround hook.
That was blocked. Johnson, Noel got a piece of that.
Mismatch inside, Noel. Alan Payne is just 6'6".
Kenny Payne, the assistant for Kentucky, has worked a lot with the post players of Kentucky. Noel's become very efficient with his right shoulder jump hook, using that left hand.
Sullivan finds Chubb, stepping out on Noel.
That's big. If Chubb can consistently be a pick-and-pop guy, that'll keep Noel, one of the best shot blockers in the country, away from the basket.
Rob Chubb at 14 and 8 last year against Anthony Davis. Poitras held on the perimeter by Noel Johnson. It's the first on Johnson.
Well, here's the ball inside. They don't come with a strong double team. Chubb's a little hesitant. And then you see Payne take a little bit of a dive. Noel's got to get a hand up on that shot, whether he has a reputation of being a good shooter or not.
Harrell, the sophomore point guard, looking inside. Instead, kicks it out. Auburn trying to take another charge.
They're going to go below the ball screen on Wallace. He is not taking a three-point shot in league play.
Double came on Chubb. Noel knocked it from behind. Another steal for the Kentucky big man. Noel and Chubb getting a little chippy inside. Harrell 3 for 3. And Wallace, littlest guy in the court, comes up with a rebound. Taking it all the way. And Kentucky the other way. Noel jams it home.
On that possession, it would have been best if Chubb just hung back, because on a fast break layup, he was the last Auburn player back. No chance of the offensive rebound. You always have to have defensive balance against this fast Wildcat team.
John Calipari wants him to switch on the screen. And the jumper's off the mark for Noel Johnson. Kentucky and Auburn are tied at 4 here early on. Neither team shooting the ball well. In fact, they've combined to go 0 for 9 from 3. But the pace is something perhaps a little bit unexpected here early. Is it emotion?
It's definitely emotion. The energy in this building is exceptional. Tony Barbee, as I touched on earlier, really wants to grind out the game a little bit. He feels the young Kentucky team will break down defensively if you get a couple of ball reversals. And then on the defensive end, he talked about containment. He talked about making Kentucky score against a set defense, ideally from the perimeter. They're not a great three-point shooting team.
Kentucky comes into this game at 36% from behind the arc.
And they're 30% in league play, 10th in the conference. I start going off the league stats after 3 games because I think that's a truer sign of what your team's all about, because you're playing against equal competition.
Both teams are 2-1 in the SEC to start. Auburn zone once again. Mays to Noel. Chubb leaning on. There's that left-handed hook again, and he left it short.
Great wall and box by Chubb.
Open 3, Johnson.
It's going to be critical for Johnson to make some shots because he can stretch the floor as a small 4. When I talk about walling and boxing, Chubb got his body up against Noel, made Noel feel uncomfortable as he went up for the shot, and then you turn and box out so Noel can't get his offensive rebound.
A little 2-2-1 now from Auburn.
Really just to slow him up, make him think a little bit. They're downing the side ball screen even in the zone.
And an air ball from the elbow from Harrow. Kentucky has started this game 2 for 10 from the floor, 0 for 5 from 3. Pardon me, 2 for 11. Frankie Sullivan will run the point with this lineup for Auburn. Sullivan finds Johnson. He came in red hot from 3 and finds Chubb for the jam.
The value of having a stretch 4, pick and pop. Now you're creating a 2-on-1 situation. Johnson made a great pass to Chubb.
Sullivan all over Mays. Shot clock at 5. Here's Mays. And it's brought down by Chris Denson, back into the lineup tonight for Auburn on the run.
That was a foul.
No whistle. Harrow. And Kentucky still 0 for tonight from 3.
Denson gives Auburn a big lift. He averages 15 points, and it really gives Sullivan, takes some pressure off of Sullivan, who's such a big scorer for them. Sullivan's averaged over 40 minutes a game in league action.
Denson back on the floor after missing the last 4 games with a stress fracture. That's the first on Ryan Harrow. They get Denson back, and Jordan Price also saw some action on the floor during Auburn practice today. And John Calipari going deeper into his bench. John Hood and Jared Polson both on the floor. Hood hasn't played in the last 6 games. Polson has only played 9 minutes total over the last 3 games. Johnson still over.
Boy, oh boy, they're taking advantage on that pick and pop. Johnson's got to keep shooting with confidence.
Wilcher trying to get on track. Kentucky's missed 10 in a row. Sullivan with the bad lob and the tip. Can't get it in.
He's got to stop at the foul line, look to shoot that ball first and foremost.
And a Wilcher walk turns it over for Kentucky. This Kentucky drought is nearing 5.5 minutes. Auburn on top of Kentucky 6-4 at the under 12 timeout. Tony Barbee, I'm sure, doesn't mind the score in terms of the pace of the scoring slow, but the pace of the game is still breakneck for both sides.
Well, it's definitely breakneck, but it's hard to slow down a team with this type of excitement in the building. It's kind of rare. Doesn't happen a lot here at Auburn, but it will if they continue to play like this going forward, because this is an exciting basketball team that Tony Barbee's put on the floor.
Game planning's a little bit different in this one because both of these coaches know each other so well. Tony Barbee played for John Calipari at UMass. They coached together at Memphis, and now tonight they go head-to-head.
John Calipari he's passionate. He's passionate about the game, he's passionate about teaching, and he's mostly passionate about his players. And that's not just his star players, from the Marcus Camby's to the Derrick Roses to the Anthony Davises. It goes down to even to his walk-ons. He's passionate and has a love and a caring for all of his players.
Tony Barbee, and I go so far back, he played for me, coached with me. Of all the games I coached, that's the hardest game. It's hard for two reasons. I'm coaching against Tony, someone that I want to win every game. But the other side of it is he always comes up with a game plan that befuddles my team. So he's a terrific coach.
One of John Calipari's favorite memories of Tony Barbee was in 1991 when the Minutemen of UMass were playing for a right to make it to the NIT Final Four at Madison Square Garden. They're at Siena. Tony Barbee, he said, was about 0 for 20 that day. But when UMass lined up to try and tie the game with 2.5 seconds left, the PA announcer at Siena announced when they could buy their tickets and when the buses would be leaving for Madison Square Garden. Barbee said, I set about 22 screens on that play. The ball came to him. He hit a game-tying three that forced overtime. Only one bucket was scored in overtime. And John Calipari's UMass team went on to the NIT Final Four thanks to Tony Barbee's buzzer beater.
Well, John Calipari has done a great job wherever he's been, and he's the perfect fit for Kentucky because he's a great recruiter. He's a terrific coach, and he's a wonderful marketer, and he's got a great platform in Lexington, Kentucky.
Denson working inside. And a fantastic fan base at Rupp Arena as Wallace misses and Noel rips it down. They gave Elston Turner a standing ovation when he walked off the floor after a 40-point performance last week.
Well, they were glad he was walking out the door. They didn't want to come back.
Ryan Harrow ends the drought, nearing 6 minutes for Kentucky. They missed 11 straight shots.
Well, they've gotten a lot of good looks in transition. Right there, just a reach by Wallace. Wallace was in good position, just stuck his hand in the cookie jar and got caught.
And so Harrow, the sophomore transfer from North Carolina State, fails to make it a three-point play. Archie Goodwin back on the floor for Kentucky. How does playing without Willie Cauley-Stein affect John Calipari's choices off the bench tonight?
Well, it certainly hurts your depth because he's really been going 7 deep until tonight. But I think it's a good matchup because Auburn's not a big team. Really play 4 guards and a post player. So it's not going to hurt them much on the defensive end.
A reset for Auburn after the offensive rebound. Hassan Dixon Tatum trying to post up Noel. And Goodwin's on the glass. Here comes Kentucky. Poitras on the run, lost the handle, and Auburn takes it away. Or did they?
No, good play by Wallace. I like the fact that he didn't go after that deflected ball. I had a high school coach, Bob McKillop, who's now at Davidson, would talk about that all the time. Never catch a deflected pass, because when you do, it usually goes off of your fingertips out of bounds. That type of situation happens about at least once a game. Little flex action. Notice they're playing off of Wallace again, not a three-point threat.
He's only attempted 3 threes on the season. Sullivan inside. Harrell out to Poitras on the wing again. This time he gathers, and he'll get a trip to the free throw line.
I don't like Auburn's transition defense. Their guards are getting very, very deep. It's giving the Wildcats a chance to get out in transition and not converting yet, but the percentages will go in their favor eventually. And then when I say they, I'm talking about Kentucky.
So Alex Poitras to the free throw line. It's been an up and down first season for the freshman from Clarksville, Tennessee.
His numbers are pretty good in league play, shooting over 50%, 75% from the three. Granted, it doesn't take a lot of them. The thing that surprised me, in league play, he's shooting 89% from the foul line.
The latest message from John Calipari to his team, and specifically Poitras, is for them to buy in, but not the way you might think. Not to buy into what the team is doing, but to have enough confidence in yourself and what the coaching staff wants you to do, to buy in to your program first, and then the rest can come together.
Well, you can't buy into a team program until you're mentally and emotionally locked into what your role needs to be. And then you see how it fits into the team concept. And that comes with experience. And then, Kentucky obviously is very, very, very young.
Wallace tried to set a screen on Noel, and they threw it in anyway. And Goodwin, count it!
So that's the transition defense I'm talking about. They're too athletic to open up the floor to a guy like Goodwin and Poitras that can go to the basket. I mean, the guards need to get back. See, Wallace wasn't set number 11. He needs to get in front of the ball and not be behind the basketball. And when you get in that position where you take bad shots, you turn the ball over.
That's a second on Noel Johnson. Goodwin to the free throw line.
Goodwin really needs work on his shot. He is a 59% foul shooter, only shooting 11% from the three-point line. Kentucky is very, very small. See Mays on Johnson. That's why they play off of Wallace. That shot didn't look very good.
And a push-off inside on Nerlens Noel. Chubb drew the foul. And another second opportunity for Auburn.
Kentucky goes man-to-man out of bounds this time.
Wallace with a hesitation move finds Chubb. Oh, a blind shot to sneak it right past Nerlens Noel.
Great catch and finish by Chubb.
Kentucky turns it over.
Don't go to the basket, young man.
That's the second on Nerlens Noel.
Earlier when you asked me what happens, what's the impact of Willie Cauley-Stein not being here, well, that's the thing that I was going to mention is foul trouble. If Noel gets in foul trouble, then that could pose big-time problem for the Wildcats. He shouldn't reach like that. Well, then don't reach again. You're too big. Get the shot at its apex where you can block it. Don't reach in on a guard going in for a layup. I'll let you talk now. Go ahead.
All right, thanks. Alan Payne at the free throw line. It's atypical for Noel to get into foul trouble. Only 7 fouls committed over the last 4 games, and he has to take a seat here at the 8:27 mark.
It'd be interesting to see if Tony Barbee tries to get Chubb back in the game quickly to see if they'll match up. Kentucky would with Wiltshire on him, because Wiltshire could not guard Chubb in the post, in my opinion.
Wiltshire's had his issues defensively. 2-2-1 again for Auburn. John Hood on the floor for Kentucky, running the baseline. Who is the go-to man with this 5-man lineup for Kentucky?
I'd say Wiltshire on the outside for sure, because he's such a good shooter. Had a very good game, one of his better games against UT. Tennessee at 17 and 5. Before that, he struggled, shooting 22% in league play.
That's a 16th foul on Auburn. Brian Green Jr.'s first. Wilcher fading away. Tough shot.
He can shoot the ball. He looks like he's in 8th grade. I mean, I don't know if that kid is shaved yet, but when his body fills out, he has a chance to be an excellent college basketball player.
Turned over by Auburn. This is Goodwin in a foot race to the rim.
Auburn turns the ball over way too much, and you put the ball in a live ball turnover, and that's what is the result. Kentucky can really push the ball down the floor. Auburn's 13th in the league in turnover margin, negative 4.3. Not a good number.
Wallace trying to make it happen on the drive, and he banks it in for his first bucket.
Harrow has one job, and that's to contain him. But Harrow's not the strongest cat in the world. No pun intended.
Great look from Wilcher inside to Poitras. John Calipari is all over Ryan Harrow as they head to the bench for this timeout.
He's mad at him because he wants to push the ball. He talked about that shoot around today. Push it on mades and misses. Wilcher's excellent in the high post because he's got size against the zone. He can shoot the ball, and obviously he's a good passer. Great bounce pass. And I think Poitras can finish a little bit.
John Calipari said the key for his team would be to play hard and get the motor running. Coming up, Coach Doherty will play hard. He takes the court to break down Nerlens Noel's ability to defend the paint. Class is in session when we return.
Today's class is about defending the paint. And one of the best defenders in the whole country is Kentucky freshman Nerlens Noel. He has a 7'4" wingspan, and this lane's only 12 feet wide. Let's go to the video to see why he's so special. Let's start with discipline. Noel stays down, doesn't go for the pump fake, eyes on the ball, hands ready. Great block off on the break. Secondly, quickness. He gets a little out of position, back to the ball, but yet he can recover and block the shot, and again, starting the break. And then lastly, what makes him so special, in my opinion, is he can block shots with either hand. This enables him a better chance to keep the ball in play. For Auburn to have success tonight against Nerlens Noel, they need to get the ball inside to center Rob Chubb. With his big shoulders, he has a chance to get Nerlens Noel off balance and finish with his trademark jump hook. In addition to that, Auburn needs to continue to shoot the ball well from the outside.
All right, well, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Tony Barbee's squad is 0 for 7 from 3, but they got Nerlens Noel in some foul trouble. He's on the bench with 2. He already has 3 blocks in this game. He didn't get into foul trouble when he was going for blocks. He got into foul trouble in other ways.
Well, again, the reach. He shouldn't be reaching, even though he gets a lot of steals. But right in front of the official, when a guard's going up for a layup and he's got good position, it doesn't make sense for him to slap at the ball, risking the foul, when he's so good at blocking the shot when the ball's up 15 feet in the air.
That was a hard screen from Chubb on Harrow in the backcourt as Kentucky shows picking up pressure full court for the first time tonight.
Let's see Chubb take advantage of Wilcher in the post.
Vandy ate Wilcher up all over the floor.
I don't like him getting the ball off the block. There's no reason for him. He should have planted his feet and sealed in the paint.
Empty possession for Auburn. And now Chubb's got to guard Wilcher on the other end. Another fantastic look from Kyle Wilcher.
You know, maybe there's a little pressure off of Kyle right now because with Willie Cauley, Stein, and Noel starting in front of him, now he's playing a little bit more freer.
Couple of assists for him. Green's off the mark, and it's brought down by Poitras.
He's going to let it ride.
Harrow walked with it.
In transition, Wilcher said, Ryan, 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 and he's got range to 25 feet. Wilcher has great vision. No look pass to Poitras. In that mid-post, he's tough to guard because he can shoot it and he can pass it and opens up the basket area for cutters. Again, I would take advantage of Chubb against Wilcher in the post. Pin down, post up.
Colson showed some help. Back out to Wallace. Shot clock again into single digits on Auburn. A high screen from Chubb. Sullivan had to bring it back and still brought it home.
What a great kid Sullivan is. I had the pleasure of talking to him yesterday. Graduated Auburn in 3.5 years.
Wilcher.
Chubb's having a hard time chasing Wilcher around down screens.
Wallace. Great body control for the 5'10" senior.
Well, again, with Noel in foul trouble and Willie Cauley-Stein back in Lexington, Auburn is not afraid to attack the basket. You see Wilcher on a soft show, and they just go right at his chest. Wallace did.
It's a three-point game. John Calipari uses a timeout to talk about it. With his team playing on the road. Why is the road so unkind to Kentucky this season?
Because they're young. Going on the road, a lot of distractions, intimidating. You know, even though I always said to my team, you know, these fans can't come out and touch you. They can't block your shot. But it's still an intimidating place. This arena is very intimate, and they have students wrapped around the lower level, much like Cameron Indoor Stadium. It's loud, and this team has only been on true road games at Vanderbilt, at Louisville, and they had a true road game
at Notre Dame.
At Notre Dame. Notre Dame, much like this type of facility, very intimate environment.
Wallace will go to the free throw line. One of the things that John Calipari talked to us about was your time playing at North Carolina, national championship program, and the desire to send the home crowd home unhappy.
Well, when I played and coached for Roy Williams at Kansas and played, he was an assistant at North Carolina, we always talked about watching the fans go home early. The home fans, you want to hear them grow silent. And John Calipari wants to instill that kind of competitiveness and toughness in his team. But it's tough because it's not naturally in their DNA.
Noel still on the bench. He's been sitting for 4 minutes now. Do you bring him back in the first half?
I would bring him back. All right, I'd bring him back. And you know, but right now it's kind of the cutoff time.
Wilcher tried to spin that one off the glass. It will go off of Auburn and stay with Kentucky.
Coach Smith, Dean Smith, told me, you know, if you get somebody with 2 fouls in the first half, pull them out, talk to them, and then put them back in the game. Don't be afraid to play them because a lot of times they don't foul out. And it's maybe a key point in the game where you allow the other team to make a run.
Look at that putback from Jared Polson.
Polson played great in the opening round game against Maryland. But since then, he's been a little bit more of a focal point on the scouting report and struggled against the pressure of Louisville's Russ Smith.
That was his first make since December 15th against Lipscomb. Wallace fouled on the drive. And that's the first on Jared Polson. Kentucky leads by 5, and a Kentucky team that came in with a heralded recruiting class led by Nerlens Noel.
Well, John could always recruit, and he's not afraid now, especially with Kentucky on his chest, to go nationwide to get the prospects. Brandon Knight playing with the Detroit Pistons. Anthony Davis, we all know where he's at. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist plays for the Charlotte Bobcats. Nerlens Noel from Massachusetts.
So you're talking about top 5 recruits under Kentucky from Alabama, North Carolina, Florida, Illinois, Jersey, Massachusetts, and oh, by the way, there's 2 pretty good kids coming in from the Houston suburbs.
Well, I saw the Harrison twins a lot when I was at SMU, and those guys are college ready. They're tough. Just because you're a freshman doesn't mean you can't be tough. The Harrison twins will come in and really bring an edge to the program, much like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist did. Just because you're a freshman again doesn't mean you can't be tough and aggressive. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist was the type of kid that wanted to guard the other team's best player and shut him down.
There are only 2 scholarship players in the Kentucky roster from the Bluegrass State. John Hood, who missed the last 6 games with mono, has seen action tonight. And Jared Polson, the junior from Nicholasville, back in the scoring column as he got the putback a moment ago.
Kentucky just got a recent commitment from Dakari Johnson, originally from New Jersey, 6'10" center, out Mount Verde Academy, outside of Orlando, Florida.
Nerlens Noel picked up his 2nd personal foul with 8:27 to go in the first half. He only has 4 points, but he has 3 blocks and 5 boards. He gives him 11 and 9 a game, along with nearly 3 steals.
You asked me earlier, would you put him in? When you're in a position where you have the lead, I can understand why Coach Calipari would save him. But if it was close or you're a little down, then you might want to be more inclined to put him in the first half with 2 fouls.
Auburn trails by 5. Both teams have gone on a couple of runs here. Kentucky went on a 6-0 run, but it bears repeating. Neither team has shot the ball well.
Right.
Auburn is 0 for 8 from 3. Kentucky is 0 for 9.
Well, and Auburn is a very good shooting team. They're 2nd in the league in league play in 3-point field goal percentage of 41%. So I think that after the energy and the excitement wears off, they could settle in and start nailing some of these jumpers and make a run.
Tigers shot 50% from the floor against Arkansas, 44% from 3. Chubb mid-range.
Great pass by Denson in the short corner. That's a good job of breaking the zone. They went to one of the sweet spots, which is the short corner. The defense collapsed. Chubb's impressed me with his 15-foot jump shots.
Sullivan with a bump on Julius Mays on the handoff. Chubb with a shove on Wilcher. And Wilcher free now.
Yeah, see, Chubb is just so inclined to go into the basket defensively. He's got to stay with Wilcher. The reason they squeezed, I call it squeezing the ball screen, where he bumped Wilcher. He didn't want to show and have a pick and pop situation.
Tony Barbicci said, what are you doing 3 times? Don't leave him.
See, he stayed with him, but then he got sucked in defensively. It's just not a habit. He's used to guarding big postmen who are not going to hang out at the 3-point line, and that's the value having a guy like Wilcher being matched up against the center.
Kentucky leads by 6. It's the first 3 made in the game for either side. Cats now 1 for 10. Auburn 0 for 8 from deep, including Noel Johnson, who's 0 for 3. Green's 0 for 2. Sullivan is 0 for 2.
The key with this matchup with Wilcher and Chubb is, all right, now, if Wilcher's in the game at the 5 and you have to chase him at the 3-point line, make him pay on the defensive end. Get a post up, make him either a double team come, or if it's one-on-one in the block, I like my chances of Chubb scoring on Wilcher.
Whenever you break down a game before you broadcast, you try to figure out who the key players would be. I didn't know that the first half would turn into the Wilcher Chubb show.
Sounds like a sitcom.
And especially with Noel in foul trouble on the bench for Kentucky. Here's Chubb.
They're cheating off of Wallace because he's such a poor outside shooter, and Johnson has yet to find his stroke. Here comes the squeeze of the ball screen. They want to go under.
And Wilcher that time cuts right past Chubb.
Chubb's struggling right now on the pick and roll defense. They're squeezing it, so he's staying connected. Then the defender of the ball handler has to go under both of them. And for some reason, Chubb released from Wilcher and allowed him to roll to the basket.
More minutes for Chris Denson coming off of his stress fracture and a reach from behind. It will stay with Auburn. Kentucky on top by 8.
Replacing Josh Wallace. And number 0, Hassan Dixon.
And we welcome you to Auburn Arena. A sold-out crowd tonight as the defending national champions from Kentucky have opened. Sold-out crowd tonight as the defending national champions from Kentucky have opened up an 8-point lead on the Auburn Tigers. Tom Hart alongside Matt Doherty. It's been a back-and-forth affair all night. Kentucky star Nerlens Noel in foul trouble. He's on the bench with 2, and he's been there for nearly 7 minutes. Frankie Sullivan banks one in. He's got 4, but this game has turned into the Chubb-Wilcher show. Bob Chubb inside for Auburn. Kyle Wilcher has 7, including 1 3 for Kentucky. And Wilcher tied up on his way in, now guarded by Noel Johnson, who's charged with his 3rd personal.
It's really a little baffling to Tony Barbee that you're thrilled that Noel's on the bench in foul trouble. And as you touched on, now you're so frustrated because Wilcher is having his way against your Auburn Tiger defense. And at that time, he showed zone, but then it looked like they matched up man-to-man.
Wilcher's got 7 points, a couple of assists for Kentucky team. Off to a slow start in this game. Both teams shooting the ball poorly. And Kentucky is without 7-foot freshman Willie Cauley-Stein back in Lexington. Did not even make the trip after minor knee surgery and a medical procedure to try and clean up an old junior high injury.
A friend of mine, Mitch Kupchak, the general manager of the Lakers from Long Island, played at Carolina. He had a great quote one time in Sports Illustrated. He said, "Minor surgery is surgery done onto someone else." Willie Cauley-Stein probably doesn't think it's minor surgery.
Well, John Calipari's confident that Willie can return soon, but Kentucky without the Twin Towers at all tonight with Noel in foul trouble. Sullivan misses the 3. Auburn hasn't hit a 3 all night.
Wow.
Banked in from behind by Hassan Dixon Tatum.
Coming out party for Dixon Tatum. He was a #1 in the country last year, junior college block shots.
And he led the country in rebounding as well. Sullivan, the senior, got it! And a chance for a 3-point play for Frankie Sullivan.
This is a kid that you can't help but like. He's one of the most popular kids on this campus. Look at this crossover. That's where John Calipari's a little frustrated with Archie Goodwin. 6'5", 200, quick, long arms. How come you can't lock up a 6'1", 200-pound guard? And they couldn't find a defensive stopper against A&M. Turner had 40. He put 4 different guys on him.
And went zone against him. Frankie Sullivan has gotten better each and every year. He only played in 6 games a couple of years ago. And granted a medical red shirt. He's the 2nd leading active scorer in the SEC behind Florida's Kenny Boynton.
He played 6 years of varsity basketball in high school. They didn't have a middle school team. He played 7th grade, 8th grade. He started 5 years on the varsity, won 5 state championships. How about that? Scored over 4,000 points in the state of Alabama.
Down the road in Uniontown, Alabama at R.C. Hatch. 4-point Cat lead.
Don't help up.
Another good look to Poitras, and he'll get a trip to the line.
You don't want to help up and leave the basket empty. You want to fake it, Harrow, and back up. Make him shoot a runner. Look at Payne. Payne, #2. Helps up. Now you're leaving Poitras, who's one of the best finishers in college basketball, alone under the basket for a dunk. That's a big Dean Smith thing. Fake and recover. Make them shoot a 5-footer versus giving up the basket.
Jared Polson back on the floor for Kentucky. John Calipari's gone as deep as he can. Twani Beckham is not available tonight. Willie Cauley-Stein did not make the trip. And Nerlens Noel on the bench in foul trouble.
He's gone so deep, I thought he was going to put Rod Strickland back in the game.
He wouldn't mind. Another fantastic look from Wilcher. That's his 3rd assist of the night, and Archie Goodwin with the finish.
Wilcher's having a blast out there. That's his 3rd no-look pass.
And he helps out on Sullivan, went for the steal. And that would have been 2-shot foul if Dixon Tatum would have put it up. It's a second on Jared Polson.
Wilcher's getting a little exposed defensively, though, on that ball screen. Look at it. Look at that. Look, he's running the other way. It's like Magic Johnson to James Worthy. He gave him the dime, looked the other way, knew he was going to score.
Tatum will have another one coming. Well, like just about everybody in a Kentucky uniform this season, Kyle Wilcher drew the ire of his head coach, John Calipari, a time or two. And it was on both ends of the floor that John Calipari was looking for more from Wilcher. But he was their leading scorer against Tennessee. Poured in 17, hit a couple of threes, also had 2 assists and a block in just 26 minutes of action. Frankie Sullivan will pick up full court.
This is a key possession. Momentum will swing based on these next 6 seconds.
And Kentucky turns it over.
Chubb comes in. They have a chance to cut this thing to maybe 2 points. There's a lot of time. These are special situations you work on a regular basis, at least 2 to 3 times a week if you're a coach.
Wallace to start it. Ball was bobbled. Sullivan wanted the foul, didn't get it. He went down hard, but maybe had a leg kick to draw the contact.
Yeah, that wasn't a foul.
Well, it's a tough first half for everybody. Nerlens Noel only 11 minutes after picking up 2 fouls. Kyle Wilcher stepped up, but these 2 teams have combined to go 1 for 21 from 3. Our halftime score, Kentucky 30, Auburn 25. Now to the studio, and Matt Schick with Sports Center U. Welcome back to the SEC on ESPN. At the half, Kentucky leads Auburn 30-25 from a sold-out Auburn arena. Tonight's game is part of My Home Court, our week-long celebration of the great college basketball arenas and venues around the country. And it's been a magnificent atmosphere here tonight. So welcome back courtside. Tom Hart alongside Matt Doherty, as both of these teams got off to a really bad start shooting the basketball. So what do we expect to happen in the second half?
Well, I would think that Auburn needs to keep shooting the basketball. They're the experienced team. They're playing at home. They're number 2 in SEC play in the league in 3-point field goal percentage. So if I'm the coach, I'm saying keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting. On the other hand, Wilcher saved the day with Willie Cauley-Stein being at home in Lexington and then Noel getting in foul trouble. Here's his second foul, reaching in, foolish foul, youthful foul. And then Wilcher comes in and saves the day with his passing and his shooting.
You didn't expect role players in some ways to play such a big role, but that's been the story tonight, mainly because neither team can shoot it. Kentucky 1 for 10 from 3, Auburn 0 for 11. So if one of these 2 teams is going to break out of the slump shooting from deep, who's it going to be?
Well, I think it's going to be Auburn because they've proven they're a good shooting team. They've done it in league play. They're more experienced. Johnson and Sullivan, they're 0 for 8 from the 3-point line combined. They've got to keep shooting the ball as long as they're good shots.
And so Wilcher starts his second half on the bench to match the Kentucky starting lineup to open the game. Nerlens Noel sat at the 8:37 mark, didn't return. They go right to him, and that is an offensive foul.
Wow.
And the third for Nerlens Noel.
Great defensive possession by Auburn.
He's going to leave him in for now.
Here's the pick and roll defense. And then look at Wallace. There's a reason why he plays. He's not a great shooter. He's a tough kid who plays defense.
That was 6'10 against 5'10.
Going right at Chubb.
Chubb's double, didn't know it, and he gets whistled for 3 seconds in the lane and an Auburn turnover.
If Lee Cassell didn't call 3 seconds, he was going to call a walk. He's got to make a quicker move and get on balance. He tried to make contact with his upper back. He's got to make contact with his buttocks, because then you can stay on balance.
Glad we were able to work that term in the broadcast. I was waiting for it. That's a coaching term. Poitras was good in the first half off feeds from Wiltshire, and now Harrow gives it to him mid-range. Noel going for the tip.
But the referee, just C.J. Washington, pointed the wrong way, I think.
Yeah,
he made it sound like it was going to be an offensive foul.
It was the first on Shaquille Johnson.
And then Calipari and staff, John Calipari and staff, are wanting a free throws because Noel was actually trying to tip the ball in the basket, which would warrant 2 foul shots.
Auburn goes zone. They didn't play a ton of zone in the first half. That was a floater to Mays, and he makes it count. Just the second 3 of the game for Kentucky.
Huge shot for Mays in Kentucky. Mays has played pretty well of late, really taking care of the basketball.
Another hard screen from Chubb on Harrow. Sullivan got turned around into Chubb. Got the contact, didn't get the shot.
Well, that's the play I was talking about.
And an offensive foul on perfect positioning from Josh Wallace. Number 2 on Harrow.
We talked earlier in the show about how to go at Noel, and Chubb with those shoulders gets his left shoulder into Noel, gets him off balance, and then has space to shoot it. Just missed it. Good possession by Auburn. I think we'll have a steady dose of that going forward.
John Calipari was concerned heading into this game. He said Tony's teams are always ready to play because they're always scrappy and they play hard, and they're a bunch of upperclassmen, and that's what we're seeing in the first minute and a half since the break.
You know, they're older men playing against freshmen, inexperienced freshmen.
Here's Sullivan. Auburn still without a 3. Now 0 for 12 from deep. Follow jam won't count for Goodwin. The foul is on the floor after the drive by Ryan Harrow.
Well, Shaquille Johnson is a very talented player from the Atlanta area. No need to foul there. He was a top 100 recruit by our ESPN boys, Paul Biancardi and Dave Tellem. Terrific athlete. Great rebounder. Hit a little wall in league play, as most freshmen do. I like how Noel comes to a 2-foot jump stop. Nice balance.
A pick by Wallace in midcourt. Took it from Polson.
That's 2 fouls.
Ejected from behind after Polson bumped him a few times down the court.
There are 2 fouls. There was 1 at half court. I thought he was going to let it go because he had a layup. Then he got fouled again. Great steal. Reach around. Gets fouled there. Okay, maybe just got fouled once.
Nice touch, Alan Payne.
Alan Payne hit the shot at Arkansas to send it in overtime.
Hit it with 5 seconds left. That ended a 6.5-minute Auburn drought. This is a Tigers team which is prone to droughts.
See, now this is a little cat and mouse game. John Calipari probably knows he's going to squeeze the ball screens. And by that I mean Chubb pushes up on the screen and wants the guy on the ball, his teammate, to go under both. And Noel acted like he got shot and fell down. The referee called the foul.
Noel's playing with 3, working on Chubb.
Look for some dribble handoffs here.
Noel uses his quickness to get inside. Goodwin corrals the rebound and drains the jumper.
The second shots yesterday in practice, Tony Barbee worked a lot on box-out drills because he was afraid of just that.
Kentucky's lead is 8, matching their largest advantage of the game. Payne left it short. 0 for 13 from 3 now is Auburn. Goodwin all the way to the rack. Largest lead of the game for Kentucky. Archie Goodwin into double figures. Kentucky up by 10 in the second half against Auburn, trying to pull away on the road.
Games Aspen, January 24th through 27th, live on ESPN and ABC, presented by GoPro.
ESPNU's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Sonic Restaurants. Grilled cheese just went up a notch. The all-new Ultimate Grilled Cheese Sandwiches from Sonic. (37-27), Kentucky up by 10. ESPNU's ACC Sunday Night Basketball continues tomorrow as Clemson looks for a big road win against C.J. Leslie and the number 16 North Carolina State Wolfpack. Coverage begins with ACC Sunday Night Basketball at 5:30. Then it's Clemson versus NC State at 6 on ESPNU and also live on Watch ESPN. C.J. Leslie's on fire last 7 games, giving Mark Godfrey 20 points a game in that span.
C.J. Leslie is very, very quick. Tough matchup for any post player in the country.
Kentucky comes out of the timeout with Kyle Wiltshire on the floor. Nerlens Noel takes a seat.
Now, I was wondering if Tony's going to play this lineup. You put Frankie Sullivan at the point, so now you have 4 shooters on the perimeter. They can't cheat off of Wallace.
Sullivan on the drive, and it falls off. That goes off of Kentucky and will stay with Auburn.
So now Frankie Sullivan at the point, opens up the floor, more room to drive and attack like he just did there. Just missed it. Good shot, good play calling.
Nobody getting open for Auburn. Poitras nearly had the steal.
It's tough when you have a freshman inbound the ball, and then you have a team like Kentucky defending man-to-man, getting in passing lanes because a young man can panic a little bit. I always like to have an upperclassman inbounding the ball unless someone's really, really savvy.
Denson looking for the screen from Hassan Dixon Tatum. Good D by Poitras. Sullivan nearly lost it. Plenty of time on the shot clock. And the short jumper goes for Alan Payne.
Well, Payne's good in that range. Great possession. Denson can get into the paint. You have Sullivan and Denson in the backcourt. They can do some things offensively. The tough thing is Sullivan's doesn't really have the DNA of a point guard.
And a bucket inside for Kentucky, Ryan Harrow.
Ryan Harrow for 2.
Here's what they call a horn set. 2 high posts, either ball screens or handoffs.
Noel will return next dead ball for Kentucky. Quick look inside. Payne again.
Again, they can attack the basket now because no Willie Cauley-Stein and no Noel.
Willie Cauley-Stein had a lingering knee issue from his junior high days in the Kansas City area. Got that taken care of late in the week. Not available today, didn't even make the trip. It remains to be seen when Cauley-Stein will return. Sullivan spins his way into the lane and a finger roll.
Nice. He's got some shoulders on him. Harrow's been impressive. Harrow's made some huge plays to put Kentucky up in this basketball game. It's tough to team the zone.
Spot 3 for Wiltshire.
When they go small, you have Wiltshire at the 4 spot. It's a tough team the zone, especially with Mays in the game.
Sullivan drives again, draws the foul. They'll go against Archie Goodwin, the second on the freshman from Little Rock, and Sullivan in some pain for Auburn.
Sullivan's a tough kid. I saw him in Charleston dive, get 25 stitches. The next day he came back and he had 24 points against College of Charleston.
Coming up, we take a look back at Auburn's home court since 1916 as we wrap up our week-long look at home courts in college Kentucky by 11 here at a sold-out Auburn Arena. Tonight's game is part of My Home Court, our week-long celebration of the great college basketball arenas and venues around the country. And here at Auburn, they've had a handful of them. In fact, the Tigers have called 4 different arenas home since 1916. From 16 until 48, they played their home games at the Alumni Gym. Then the Auburn Sports Arena opened the next season. The Tigers played there until 1969. Following season, Auburn moved into the Beard Eaves Memorial Coliseum, played there until 2010. Now the Tigers in their 3rd season here at Auburn Arena. Almost the last 100 years of Auburn basketball played in 4 different arenas. And the home court advantage, 376 wins at the Coliseum. The individual high for points for an opponent belonged to Pete Maravich, dropped in 46 in 1969. John Mingelt had 60 for Auburn against Bama on Valentine's Day 1970. And just tonight, they unveiled Mike Mitchell's number 30, the latest retired jersey, in the Ring of Honor here at Auburn Arena. Person brothers and, of course, Charles Barkley, who's in the building tonight, and he will join us courtside in just a few minutes.
Mingelt had 60 in a game. No shot clock, no three-point line. I think I was born too late.
Against your rival, by the way, against Alabama. Well, Frankie Sullivan at the free throw line. Alabama native.
I was talking to John Mingelt earlier today. Played with the Bulls, played with the Pistons. Terrific career in executive search. Lives outside the Chicago area. Class act.
Sullivan goes 2 for 2. He's into double figures. We saw pressure at times from Auburn in the first half. Noel playing with 3, grappling with Chubb inside. Noel, jump hook.
Credit Kenny Payne.
6 now for Noel.
The former Louisville star, ironically working at Kentucky, but he works with those big guys every day on their post moves.
Jordan Price in the game for the first time since he played against Winthrop on December 22nd. He missed time with a stress fracture. Chris Denson has also returned to the floor tonight. Denson rejected, 4th block of the game for Noel.
Not a wise decision, young man.
Harrow on the run.
Harrow's played huge. He's played huge this game.
The lead is 13 for Kentucky.
I bet you Tony Barbee's fired up. Why do you challenge one of the best shot blockers in the country? Kick it out. Dribble out. They like to force him into the help. And then you have a one-man goaltender in Noel. I love how he blocks the shot and keeps it in play. And that can lead to transition buckets against an unset defense. Harrow using his height over the stronger Wallace.
So Noel sat for 8:27 in the first half. Kentucky's best player, and Auburn trying to get it done at this moment without their best player. Frankie Sullivan, after that last free throw, came out of the game and he left the floor. Sullivan got a hard foul right before the break, before hitting those free throws. Remains to be seen what Frankie Sullivan's injury is, but he went back to the Auburn locker room after the free throw.
Well, you don't even know if it's an injury. Sometimes it's equipment. Could be shoes getting blown out. Could be a string in your shorts.
Auburn looking for something from behind the arc.
That was Price taking that 3. He had a stress fracture as well. This is his first game back. We weren't sure if he was going to play.
Harrow with the offensive rebound. And now Auburn wants to run. Green Jr. was open for a quick moment, and the other way they get it to Payne to finish.
Well, that's Harrell's fault. He shouldn't be on the offensive board. Shot goes up. He needs to get back to protect the basket.
Goodwin with a chance for a three-point play as he muscles his way in.
That's his second personal foul.
It's the second of Brian Green Jr. And Archie Goodwin has a chance for an and one here. The freshman from Little Rock. Baker's dozen now for Goodwin. Here's Wallace into the paint. Can't finish, and Kentucky the other way. Wilcher with the ball fake, and inside gets another. And Kentucky trying to start to stretch this one out. Price gave it up. And the 7-foot junior Dixon Tatum gets a bucket.
He's giving Auburn good minutes.
John Calipari has been looking for effort from his team really all season long, especially after the youngsters struggled when they hit a wall. It seems to be getting that effort tonight from a lot of different guys.
Well, I've been impressed again. I think it started with Wilcher. I like the way Noel looked coming out, even though he got his foul. He fouled trouble. He was very aggressive. And I think guys fed off of that. And Goodwin's, coming in the second half, Harrow being aggressive. They've got the talent, but they're just a little bit immature emotionally.
Replacing Josh Wallace.
Wallace takes a seat. Off the inbounds, taken away by Auburn. Sullivan will pull. Tigers can't buy one from deep tonight.
They should not stop the break high.
Noel over the top of Sullivan.
That all starts with trying to stop the break high, going for the outlet pass. Then you expose the basket area to great athletes that Kentucky has.
Archie Goodwin commits his third, but on the other side, number 3 went up and over the 6'1" Sullivan. What a feed, what a finish. Coming up, a special edition of SEC Q&A. Auburn's Charles Barkley's in the house. We'll stop by to talk about what's going on with the Tigers. Welcome back. Kentucky leads Auburn 55-39. Tom Hart, Matt Doherty, joined now by College Basketball Hall of Famer Charles Barkley. Hey, a special reason why you're here. Mike Mitchell's number was retired tonight. A great ceremony before the game with his wife and his son, and you were a part of it.
It was really cool for me because, you look at Mike Mitchell and John Mengel, they built this program. Obviously, we were blessed with me and Chuck Person and Wesley Person and Rex Frederick on the wall also. But it was really cool for Mike to get his just due.
Did you have a chance to play against Mike in the NBA a couple of years?
I did. And, the one thing, once you're part of the Auburn family, the word War Eagle goes around the country, around the world. And the first time I met Mike Mitchell, he said to me, War Eagle, and it was really cool. But it's really cool to hang out with Matt, because I used to watch Matt when I was a little kid.
Oh, get out of here.
And,
get out of here.
He made a couple shots when I was on my big wheel back in the day.
Hey, you and I were basically, I think you were a class of 85, right?
No, yes.
Did you leave in 84, though?
I did.
When you wore that bad tie to Madison Square Garden at the draft?
I was poured in.
Hey, listen, this campus here, my first time, it's a beautiful campus. Can you tell me where the library is?
Well, the person who did all my classwork can tell you. I don't know personally myself. I'm just joking, America. Don't get that out of shape. It's amazing. To be honest with you, I got here in 1981, and it's probably tripled in size. We have probably 25,000 students now. We got a nice new arena. We're really excited the way the basketball program is going forward. we haven't been very good in basketball for a long time. We're not on the level of Kentucky right now, but we are getting better. And all you want to see as a sports fan, I hope, is your program getting better.
Well, you want it to get better, and it starts with facilities, and it starts then with coaches. And Tony Barbee, I coached against him when he was at UTEP. He's a terrific coach, a terrific recruiter, and a great ambassador for this program. What do you say?
Well, listen, this is the first time I've been excited about the program for a long time. We were obviously in first place last week in SEC. We lost a tough game at Arkansas in double overtime. I was really looking forward to being here tonight to see us play Kentucky in person. We're getting better. That's all I want. Tony's going to do a good job. You know, nobody's patient in the 24 news cycle now. But listen, if we're patient, we're going to get it done here at Auburn.
Chuck, you got a chance to follow this Kentucky team last year as Noel sends one to the Auburn bench on their way to their 8th national title. How would you compare, is it fair to compare last year's Kentucky team with this one?
Well, my jumping ability against your jumping ability is like night and day. You can't compare this team to last year's team. That team last year, number one, I think they had a couple older players. You know, everybody look at their big center and a couple of guys who are freshmen, but they have some senior leadership. This team here, they really are true freshmen. So it's really unfair. But listen, John Calipari to me never gets the respect that he deserves as a coach. They're going to be fine, but it's just a matter of people being patient, but we're not in a patient society.
They have 3 players, depending on who you ask, who will go in the top roughly 15 of the NBA draft this year.
I am so glad you asked me that question. Listen, John Calipari is a friend of mine, and I love him as a friend. There ain't one player on this Kentucky team who should go pro early. I hate the one-and-done rule in college basketball. Just because it's a rule does not mean you have to do it. Like, listen, Anthony Davis played well enough for him to go pro. There's not one single player on this Kentucky team who I saw play this year, I say he should go pro. I hate that rule, and I wish some of these parents would talk to their kids and say, hey, just because it's a rule does not mean you have to do it.
Well, Shaq came out in the National Convention for Athletic Directors and Presidents and talked about there should be a rule where they have to stay 3 years.
I would love for guys to stay 3 years. I think the best we could really get would be 2 years. I would love for them to stay 3 years. Man, because you know this, when we played, that was an unwritten rule that you stay in college for 3 years.
Right.
Now that rule is done because the family members are greedy. The agents are pigs also. So they tell these kids, go to college for 1 year. Listen, I love John in this program, but there's not one kid I've seen on his team who I say, oh, he should go to the NBA next year.
Right. Now, it really is driven by the NBA Players Association.
No, it's actually it's really driven by the agents, to be honest with you.
Right, because they're running the Players Association.
Yes.
Right?
And listen, it's a corrupt system, but I wish these kids would stay in school for a minimum of 2 years, to be honest with you.
If the Players Association said, hey, we'll vote for a 3-year deal, we don't want those guys to come in early, it really helps those veteran players that can stay around longer.
It would, but these agents are such scumbags, as you know that. They just want their percentage of the money. Man, you know that. They don't care about these kids. They don't care how well they do in the NBA. They just want their percentage. Listen, I wish there would be a rule where they would have to stay a minimum of 2 years. I agree with Shaq. I wish they would stay for 3, but the best we could do for 2. But these agents don't care about that. They just want their percentage.
How did Sonny Smith and this Auburn program get you ready for the NBA?
Well, listen, there's 3 steps. There's number 1, your first year. The second year, people talk about sophomore slump. There's really no such thing as a sophomore slump. I always tell people what a sophomore slump is, they get ready for you that next year. They know who you are. They study tape. They make adjustments. The third year, to me, is the key. That's when you as a player have to make the adjustment. That's when you know if you're ready or not to go to the NBA. I'm glad you asked me that question. There's no such thing as a sophomore slump. They make adjustments. They see how really good you learn to adjust. But you really don't learn that until your 3rd year. And then if you make that adjustment, you're ready by your 3rd year.
Well, Chuck, did Kenny Smith ever tell you why his knees are so knocked?
Well, from bringing Michael Jordan water all the time.
Well, when he was a freshman, we made him carry all our bags, so they would bang against his knees, and they were...
You know, man, I will tell you this. I think you guys in North Carolina, y'all been living off Michael Jordan and James Worthy a long time. You know, it really bothers me because Michael Jordan and James Worthy, they're the two greatest players probably out of North Carolina. You know, you were a hell of a player, but you guys been living on Michael Jordan a long time.
Hey, Michael Jordan wasn't the best player on that championship team. James Worthy was.
He was.
Sam Perkins wasn't bad.
He wasn't. I said James
Bob
Worthy and Michael
McAdoo wasn't a bad player back in the day.
Did he really go to North Carolina?
He went to North Carolina
for
a hot minute. For a hot minute.
I know. I knew that. He only went there for a hot minute.
Noel picks up his fourth with 9-12
Hey, man, these ACC guys be killing me.
Well,
I have to live with Kenny Smith every week because he lives and dies with Carolina basketball.
Well, he's been dying a little bit lately.
He's been dying. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, we've had some tough run, but we're like Kentucky a little bit where you lose 4 players to the first round. It's tough to just turn it over.
Well, see, that's actually the problem with the one-and-done rule. It puts the middle schools at a huge disadvantage because these kids they're trying to get to the NBA after 1 year. So they know that Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, Connecticut, they know they're going to be on TV pretty much every week. I was excited because I can't remember the last time Auburn was on national television. So these kids are all going to go to the big schools because they have this mentality, I only want to be one and done. And it puts the smaller schools at a disadvantage.
Well, it starts a lot with the rating services when the kid's rated as the best 9th grader in the country.
You know, which is a joke.
Like Jordan Price was. He was one of the best 9th graders in the country.
Well, you shouldn't be like...
You shouldn't rate him.
You shouldn't rate kids in the 9th grade. I think the earliest you should be rated is when you're a junior.
Chuck, you took Auburn to its first ever NCAA tournament. 5-12 upsets are now the rage in college basketball because we've seen so many of them. What happened against Richmond?
Well, man, that's cold.
Wow. You went right for the juggler, didn't you?
I gave you 4 minutes to get this.
Wow. Tough crowd.
See, you know, we wasn't on television. I'd say some really bad stuff to you. You know what? They had Johnny Newman. They had a couple guards who were really good. And they were
They're
better.
so good you don't remember the names.
No, I know Johnny Miller. I think a kid name was Flynn. But Johnny Miller, Johnny Newman actually played in the NBA.
Yeah, Johnny was a good player.
He did. But they were a better
Johnny
team.
Miller was a pretty good golfer. I don't know.
He was. But I'm saying Johnny Newman was a hell of a player. They had a better team than we did.
Well, that's what I tell people. Like, Kentucky may have the best talent, but the best talent doesn't always win. The best team always wins. You know, and that's like back when the Lakers put all those guys together like Karl Malone. And then the Pistons ended up winning the championship because they had the best team.
They did. Talent's important. I don't tell people not to overlook that, but you have to play as a team. And listen, actually, what Matt said was important because all these guys Kentucky got this year, they are the most talented high school players in the world, but they don't really know how to play basketball yet. And they're not going to win the championship this year, but I hope they stay in school and they have a much better sophomore year. But the system is so flawed right now. All these kids have the mentality, I only want to be in college for 1 year. And that sucks.
Speaking of talent, you and Kenny, Magic and Jalen, what can we expect?
Well, you expect us to beat them down. Listen, Magic wasn't a great defender, and neither was Jalen in their heyday. We're going to beat them down in the 2-on-2 competition.
I can't wait. Matt and I will call it. Thanks for your time, Chuck.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for coming to Auburn. We needed y'all here.
Charles Barkley, everybody.
You, man.
Auburn struggling. Kentucky's up by 20. Kentucky on a 10-2 run. We need to work on Charles. He needs to express himself some more and have some opinions. Kentucky leads by 20 now over Charles Barkley's Auburn Tigers. ESPN's Journey to the Tourney is a season-long spotlight on games that will impact the tournament. Thursday night, it's a battle in the Pac-12 as freshman Shabazz Muhammad and the 24th-ranked UCLA Bruins take on Mark Lyons in number 7 Arizona. UCLA versus Arizona, Thursday at 9 on ESPN2 and also live on Watch ESPN. Well, you agree with Chuck said about the one-and-done rule and its effect on the college game and the NBA?
Well, there's no question. It just hurts. Yeah, I think if college players stay in longer, it helps the NBA not only get a better product, all right, but you also get an affinity from fans that now follow the NBA that don't normally, because they have someone from their university playing in the NBA. Now, there's always exceptions. You have Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, who did not go to college, and people still follow him. But there'd be a lot more people following him if they went to a university where there's, 100,000 alums.
What if Kevin Durant spent 3 years at Texas?
There'd be a lot of other coaches fired in the Big 12.
10-2 Kentucky run. They're getting it from everybody now. And on the back cut, it's another assist for Wilcher. Harrow into double figures.
He can really pass that rock. I love watching him play. He's having a terrific basketball game.
Harrow came up a little bit gimpy after that play. Shaquille Johnson cut off, turns it over. Wilcher with the takeaway.
Well, that's been a problem for Auburn this season, is their turnover margin.
And Harrow will go to the Kentucky bench, reaching for his right leg and the knee brace on his right knee.
That's why this game is so fragile, especially with a lot of young players, is that sometimes when you go to the bench, you don't have the depth. And that's happened right now with Duke, with Ryan Kelly gets hurt. And then Seth Curry has had his issues with his legs. You don't want to leave him open there.
Poitras with the rebound. They had a fistful of jersey, and he'll go to the free throw line. Last trip down the floor for Kentucky. Harrow off the feed from Wilcher.
Didn't look like much to me. Maybe just twisted it on the way up. A lot of fragile teams out there. The one team that we've seen is Florida, that has withstood some injuries. Uget was hurt. Murphy cracked ribs.
Rosario came back big.
Rosario was hurt. Prather's hurt, but yet they keep winning. I think Michigan withstands some injuries or foul trouble. But there's not a lot of programs out there that can withstand a serious injury or serious foul trouble.
Next week will be in Columbia, Missouri. The Tigers got hammered on the road by Florida today. Lawrence Bowers went down with an injury, and they're having a really tough time without him.
Well, a lot of teams have trouble going into the O'Connell Center in Gainesville, Florida.
Chubb, quick jump hook.
Well, that's what Noel will do to you. Make it a little quick so you short arm it. Instead of being patient, using his body. Again, he's got terrific shoulders, patience. Stick your shoulder in Noel's chest, make him get off balance, and then shoot the ball.
Single digits on the shot clock. Polson with 2. And he gets to the rim and got it off. What a play by Jared Polson. Never panicked.
It was great poise. Terrific poise by the junior, who's given them some good minutes this year.
John Calipari said this afternoon Polson would get more time. He was aiming for 15 minutes, said I'm not playing him enough the way it is. Poitras dives for the loose ball right in front of us. And all the cats over to help him up.
Great hustle. Noel has such long arms, and when Chubb puts the ball on the floor, he reaches around and deflects it right there. That's where that crab, I call it crab dribble, 2 hands right between your kneecaps, low and strong, so Noel couldn't reach around and deflect it. But when you dribble high with one hand, he's going to get a hand on it.
Sullivan driving on Noel.
Now, we talk about his block shots, but with all great shot blockers, you talk about missed shots, because sometimes the driver of the ball, in that case Sullivan, has one eye on the rim and one eye on Noel. So he's terrific at altering shots, not just blocking shots.
He's got 6 blocks tonight. 16-2 Kentucky run. Wildcat turnover.
In that case, when Noel, and this is experience, saw his teammate being fronted, he should have flashed high for a high-low, because in that case, Wilcher was being guarded by a guard.
Sullivan, ejected. And Noel has tied his career high with 7 blocks tonight.
And limited minutes because he was in foul trouble in the first half.
Anthony Davis rejected 186 shots last season. Noel won't match those numbers, but he is getting it done tonight.
Not in your house.
Coming up after this game, you'll get to meet C.J. Wilcox for Washington. He's the Pac-12's second leading scorer. He even played his high school ball in Utah for Pleasant Grove. He and the Huskies taking on the visiting Utah Utes right after this one on the U. Back to you,
Thanks.
Tom
Welcome
and
back
Matt.
to sold-out Auburn Arena. Tom Hart, Matt Doherty. Kentucky leads 71-45. The defending national champs had a presence inside last year, and you miss class of Coach MD. Well,
You miss class with me. I take attendance.
I miss a lot of class in my days.
Left-hand block, chasing him down, just being long, and discipline showing with the block late. And there he comes from the weak side with that left hand. Usually keeps that in bounds.
So a career high for the freshman with 7 rejections, twice his average.
In 22 minutes.
Charles Barkley said none of these guys are ready for the NBA. I'd tell them all to stay. Noel, some people have going #1 overall. How do you think his game would play at the professional level?
Well, he's so thin, and he's not very skilled offensively. So, that could be an intentional, a flagrant foul. Because that was excessive.
And Archie Goodwin took exception with it.
That's a frustration foul by Chubb. That was not necessary.
Officials doing a good job keeping the sides separated. Colson got fouled even before the entry pass.
Yeah, that's an intentional foul. That's a flagrant one, in my opinion.
The officials will go to the
When
monitor.
it's excessive, the rule is if it's excessive contact while playing the ball, that's a flagrant one.
You can never tell intent, but I don't think Chubb was playing the ball to begin with, even though
Correct.
on the floor he was.
Right.
But was it his intent to play the ball? The officials will go to the courtside monitor and take a look. And I'm sure one of the things they want to look for is if
there's no contact above the shoulders, that's automatic. But that, again, excessive contact while playing the ball. That's a flagrant one. Pretty simple to me. I've got my rules cheat sheet. I have to know the rules better as an announcer than I did as a coach. Because as a coach, I could complain about something, and Lee Cassell will come over and says, "Coach, you're wrong. Rule number 513-B is this." And you're like, "Oh, okay." But over here, I'm supposed to be the expert.
And then after all of this, and this is what they're looking at. Chubb with a little dismissive push on Nerlens Noel. Hey, football coach Gus Malzahn was honored at halftime today.
He got a big ovation. He was here when Cam Newton, he was the offensive coordinator for Cam Newton, who was a Heisman Trophy winner, who was actually back taking classes.
They're going to get Calipari and Tony Barbee together. Tony was a 6-year assistant for John Calipari at Memphis after playing for him at UMass. You just got the official word?
Yep, C.J. Washington came over, flagrant one on Chubb.
Poitras will shoot. I think if you go back and ask these Auburn players before the game, based on how they practiced today, based on how they flustered Kentucky in the first half, Auburn would say we had a good chance to beat this Kentucky team. But the frustrations come from a number of different levels. Auburn played well enough to win this game in the first half, but 0 for 15 from 3 never gave him a chance.
Never gave him a chance. And then to Kentucky's credit, they shot eyes out in the second half. Right now, I think shooting 65%. So they stepped it up.
Don't forget, coming up next, Pac-12 action. Utah is in Washington. Take on the Huskies.
Well, actually, Utah's in Utah, right?
Yes, the Utah team.
Okay, yeah. Got you. Sorry.
You can't pack up everybody, put them on the plane, and send them to Washington. Julius Mays is the free throw line. Julius came off the bench the last 4 games. Got a starting assignment tonight with Kentucky injuries. Willie Cauley-Stein out.
See, they're playing so far off of Wallace that he can't feed the post. Chubb had great position, but they're playing basically 4 against 5.
Sullivan with the assists. John Calipari has a big lead on the road with under 3 minutes to go, and he is screaming at his team.
Well, we talked about this earlier. You know, he's had to coach every little thing like you're coaching an 8th grade CYO team. Teaching kids how to pivot, teaching them how to throw bounce passes, teaching them how to pick up and talk in defense. And it wears the coach out.
Payne draws a foul on Poitras.
Well, Cal talked about he's in better shape. I went to practices in October. He's in better shape now. He's lost weight, and he said he's not drinking any soda products because he wants to be there for his team. His energy level's got to be high to coach this young basketball team.
He used to cut through 3 Diet Cokes a practice. Alan Payne at the free throw line. ESPN College Basketball is available live anytime, anywhere on your computer, tablet, or smartphone at WatchESPN.com and with the Watch ESPN app.
We talked about Kentucky's recruiting class, but Tony Barbee's excited about some of his players, especially Taj Samsud-Dean, the point guard at Columbia High School in Georgia, won 3 state titles. He says he's going to be a terrific little jet with the ball and terrific leader for the Tigers going forward.
It was a slow start to the season for this Auburn program, and Tony told us the biggest adjustment was made when his freshmen started to make the turn and find out what it takes to play at this level. They came in having won 3 of their last 4, including a win against Florida State. Wiltshire. And Goodwin fouled by Payne. Pardon me, by Wallace. It's the second on Wallace.
The other thing that helped the team was Denson. Chris Denson was ineligible for the first 7 games due to academics, and then he came back, and that he's averaging 15 points a game. He's a scorer, and that helped energize the team, spiked their scoring average about 10 to 15 points a game, and then he went down with a stress fracture in his foot, as did Jordan Price, who is a terrific shooter. So that developed some inconsistencies with your team.
Goodwin hits the second. There was some talk this week, and really after the A&M game, that Kentucky may miss the tournament altogether. That doesn't happen very often. We're defending national champ, misses out on the tournament the next season. If you had to pick a tournament field tomorrow, Kentucky's obviously in, but how much better could they get by the end of the season?
I think they can get a lot better, and this game is a step in the right direction because they have struggled on every true road game. At Vanderbilt, they won a very close game, controversial play in the last minute of the game. They lost at Louisville, and they lost at Notre Dame. So to win a true road game in the SEC in this environment, I think it's a tremendous step in the right direction for the Kentucky Wildcats.
A couple neutral site games, including Maryland at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. They lost to Duke early in Atlanta, despite the fact that there were tens of thousands of Kentucky fans in the building.
Yeah, really, neutral site's almost a home game for the way, for the Big Blue Nation, the way they travel.
Noel at the exclamation point. He's into double figures again to go with 7 blocks tonight. Auburn 0 for 15 from 3. The last time Auburn failed to make a 3-point field goal, March 1st, 1997 against Ole Miss. 0 for 14. Noel just missed that one.
He almost got that one, but he altered it.
Twelfth win of the season for Kentucky, 3-1 in conference play. Auburn will drop under 500 at 8-9, and now 2-2 in the SEC. Old friends meet. Coach and players, John Calipari shakes hands with Tony Barbee. Our final score tonight. Kentucky with a second-half explosion beats Auburn 75-53. Coming up next, it's Sports Center U. Now from Auburn, Alabama, let's take it back to Matt Schick.